let's try it. Let's just try it. I don't know why.
Now it looks a little green.
Want to make sure she's. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here on this cold and beautiful, bright and snowy morning. I am Mayor Sherry Cantor, and it is a pleasure for me to be here today for the 30th annual celebration of the life of Dr. Martin Luther King here in West Hartford. The music you have just heard is from the talented Hall High School Jazz Combo. Please give them a round of applause. These brilliant musicians, I'm going to introduce them before they pack up and go. We have Quinn Knox on alto saxophone, Krish Pandya on tenor saxophone, Sophie Barnes on trumpet, Ben Kornblue on trombone, Julia Wickless on piano, Miles Berman on bass, and Nathan Ben Ari on drums. And a special thanks to their director, Phil Giampetro, for all the work that they do. We are so proud of the jazz combos at each of our high schools, and they alternate performances at this event. The Hall Jazz Combo is a student-run group performing throughout Hartford. They arrange music, they're a combo, and play jazz, and they play jazz standards with their own flair, and I just want to give them one more round of applause. Thank you. While the jazz combo was playing, you were treated to a slideshow that took you behind the scenes and captured our elementary students working on MLK art projects. The finished products are in the hallway and will be on display throughout the end of February. Black History Month, throughout February, this is Black History Month. Special thanks to Greg Diamond, he was my youngest son's 5th grade teacher and a special place in my heart, for creating this fantastic video presentation. Since 1997, West Hartford has been remembering the life and the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King, a spiritual leader who changed the course of American history. During that time, more than 1,000 West Hartford public school students have participated in this event with their school's choirs and jazz bands and speakers. We have had a cross-section of clergy and provided prayers and renowned keynote speakers from throughout Connecticut. Today's celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King's life is the result of a dedicated group of people who planned this event. They are staff from West Hartford Public Schools. Many of them are here, including Ann McKernan, Kristen Banning, Jessica Blitzer, Craig Diamond, Phil Giampetro, Sam Urek, Brian Pia, and Andrew Mayo, Kalia Alston Griffin of the West Hartford African American Social and Cultural Association, Adrian Billings Smith of Concerned Parents of Color of West Hartford, and the town's manager of Employee Development and Community Engagement, and Renee McHugh, the town's Public Relations Specialist. I would also like to remember our good dear friend, Tracy Wilson, who was passionate about this celebration and passed away on February 23rd, 2025. She had so much impact on us, and I just want to recognize her and say, I'd like to acknowledge some of the members of the Board, Town Council, and Board of Education, state legislatures, and our town manager, and our town leaders that are here with us today. From the Town Council, we have Deputy Mayor Deb Poulin, Gail Harris, Tiffany McGinnis, Barry Walters, Ben Winograd. So give them a round of applause. Our town manager, Rick Ledwith, who works tirelessly on behalf of this. Our town clerk, Town Clerk Leon Davidoff is also here. Thank you, Leon. And we have from our Board of Education, our Chair Shannon Merriman is here. Thank you. And Superintendent Paul Vicinis is also here. Thank you for joining us. And our Senator Derek Slapp, if you haven't seen him, he's in the House, and State Representatives Jillian Gilchrist, Tammy Exum, and Kate Farrar are also here. Thank you. And she did everything. Commissioner, Board of Education, and our state senator, former state senator Beth Bai is in the House. Thank you, Beth. And I was also told that Treasurer Russell is here, and I don't know State Treasurer Russell. I didn't see him, but if you are, welcome. And we also have probate judge Owen Egan is here. Thank you, Judge. And then we have Assistant Chief Rickabon is here, and I don't know if there is another Assistant Chief. Fire Chief Greg Priest is here, and his children are here. Thank you, Greg, for joining us. Assistant Chief Jay Silver is here, and Deputy Director of Emergency Management Bob McHugh is here. Thank you so much. If I did not recognize you, give a raise. I don't know. Okay, who? Oh, Senator Blumenthal, you will be up. Oh, sorry. Everybody's pointing, and I'm like, I just also want to say special thanks to Jennifer Evans and her West Hartford Community Interactive team who live stream this event and so many events from our town that people can participate and watch and be informed. So thank you so much for all that you do. I have a few words before this powerful program begins, and believe me, the students are what resonate most with me every year. But Dr. King reminded us that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Those words feel especially urgent today. They call us to recognize the dignity and humanity of every person, particularly in moments when fear, division, or power make it easier to look away. Dr. King did not speak only to his own time. He spoke to every moment when justice is tested. His words ask us to examine how we treat one another, whether our actions reflect the values we claim to uphold. At times like these, when compassion can give way to cruelty and silence can feel easier than courage, Dr. King reminds us that progress depends on ordinary people choosing dignity, fairness, and humanity, courage, and strength again and again. We have to remember that our country has changed over time, not because of the people in power, but because of the power of the people. Today, we honor Dr. Martin Luther King's important legacy and recognize the responsibility that each of us have every day to carry forward individually and collectively, and here in West Hartford and beyond, to carry that responsibility forward. So, and I'm going to begin this fantastic program. In Dr. King's message is, there's different themes every year, and this particular year is audacity and mutuality. King said during his 1964 Nobel Peace Prize speech, "I have the audacity to believe that people everywhere can have 3 meals a day for their bodies, education and culture for their minds, dignity, equality, and freedom for their spirits." And from this letter from Birmingham jail in 1963, he said, "We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly." Our speakers today will draw on King's words and share their perspectives in what will surely be an inspirational program that resonates with you on this national holiday and hopefully in the days to come. These words certainly resonate with me, and there are so many examples of West Hartford's spirited audacity and mutuality, and here's just a couple. In November, when Americans were faced with losing SNAP benefits due to the government shutdown, West Hartford residents responded to our call for non-perishable help to feed over 5,000 people in West Hartford. Secondly, And secondly, we believe that all people at all income levels should have the opportunity to live in our beautiful community. We have made affordability a top priority, ensuring that all new residential developments include different levels of affordability options. We have some new housing developments that are 100% affordable housing, some deeply affordable, such as the Camelot and Fellowship Housing, and then some with the majority of affordable housing like the Jayden and the L. Most importantly, West Hartford residents are generous in so many ways. They volunteer to serve on PTOs and sports leagues, as well as visit a homebound older adult, stock the shelves of our food pantry, help at a public library, get trained as a CERT member, or organize special events and projects that enhance the quality of life in our special community. Serving on a town board or commission is one of the ways that giving back that directly shapes our community. If you have interest, I encourage you to visit the town website, and of course you can approach me or any of our town councilors to talk about that as a way to get involved. There's information on the back table as well, so you can scan the QR code. I'm reminded so often that we are a community that looks out for one another. On behalf of the town council, I am so grateful. Before I introduce our MC, our MLK celebration kicks off a series of special events commemorating America's 250th anniversary. You are invited to take part in this milestone celebration, attending events that showcase the town's unique contributions to Connecticut and the nation through diverse stories, community engagement, and a deep understanding of what democracy means and how it is lived in our town. Then we're going to play a 1-minute video. Wait. That's awkward. All right, we'll give it another few seconds and then. Doesn't seem to be wanting to cooperate. No? Okay, we're going to move on. Maybe you can look at it online, and I apologize for that, some of those facial expressions. I am pleased to introduce today's Master of Ceremonies, Lisa Lazarus, my colleague on the West Hartford Town Council. Lisa Lazarus is a dedicated public servant, community leader, and advocate for equity and opportunity. A first-generation American, Lisa was born in Hartford, Connecticut, to Jamaican parents who, along with her 11 siblings, emigrated to the United States in 1978. Her family instilled in her a strong commitment to education, service, and integrity. With a diverse personal and professional background, Lisa brings a pragmatic, people-centered approach to solving community challenges. Lisa's career has included roles in workforce development, education, entrepreneurship, real estate, and as a contractor with the U.S. Department of Navy. Currently, she serves as the Associate Director of Compliance and Recruitment at the YWCA in the Hartford region and is a licensed realtor. She is also an active volunteer and board member with several arts organizations, museums, and educational institutions. And whenever I mention an organization with Lisa, she's like, oh yeah, I served on that board. Lisa earned a Bachelor of Arts degree in psychology and elementary education from Connecticut College and a Master of Business Administration and Human Resource Management from American University. Please welcome my friend and colleague, Lisa Lazarus.
Excuse me. Good morning, West Hartford neighbors, friends, and families. Thank you, Mayor Cantor, for that thoughtful introduction. I'm happy to serve as your Master of Ceremonies for the 30th annual celebration of the life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We will bring you another memorable event that will get your feet tapping along with our talented musicians and singers and your soul surging with inspiration as we hear from our speakers of all ages. As the MC this morning, I am afforded a few minutes to share reflections on this year's themes of audacity and mutuality. Before I do, I'd like to read a letter King wrote about his experiences in Connecticut during a train ride back from Atlanta. After that summer in Connecticut, it was a bitter feeling going back to segregation. It was hard to understand why I could ride wherever I pleased on the train from New York to Washington and then had to change to a Jim Crow car at the nation's capital in order to continue my trip to Atlanta. The first time that I was seated behind a curtain in a dining car, I felt as if the curtain had been dropped on my selfhood. I could never adjust to the separate waiting rooms, separate eating places, separate restrooms, partly because the separate was always unequal, and partly because the very idea of separation did something to my sense of dignity and self-respect. King was just 15 years old. 15, old enough to notice injustice, young enough to feel it in his bones. In Connecticut, he experienced freedom as daily life, but on that train home, at the nation's capital, that freedom abruptly ended. That contrast taught him something enduring. Segregation did more than separate bodies. It wounded dignity. It revealed how injustice damages the soul and fractured our shared humanity. His experience in Connecticut made a lasting impression. Fast forward 20 years, at age 35, King stood in Oslo to accept the Nobel Peace Prize. Before the civil rights struggle had even secured its greatest legal victories. The work was unfinished, the risks were real, and yet he spoke with audacious belief in equality and audacious faith in humankind. He named love not as sentiment, but as discipline, nonviolence not as passivity, but as courage. Because he had the audacity of hope, he embraced what is often called righteous failure, the willingness to act boldly without guarantees, trusting that advancing human dignity is itself a victory. Dr. King reminds us that courage is not limited by age. You can speak truth at 15. You can lead with conviction at 35. You can keep fighting for justice, for democracy at any age. So as we gather on this day in 2026 to honor Dr. King, and as America approaches 250 years, let us look back with honesty and go forward with intention, not only at how far we have come, but at what we have to choose to do next. Our destiny is bound by an inescapable network of mutuality. So show up, please show up for one another, even if it costs you comfort. Stay engaged, even when the outcome is unclear. Defend dignity, someone else's or your own. And if you do not win, let it never be said that you did not dare greatly. Because righteous effort in the service of justice is never failure. As Dr. King reminded us, the time is always right to do what is right. Thank you. Now let's please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Where is the flag? Ah. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing as I introduce Pastor Chloe Graham of the Faith Congregational Church of Hartford, who will give the invocation. Year to year, the MLK Committee thoughtfully selects a member of a different faith community to deliver the invocation. Today, we are fortunate to have Reverend Chloe Graham with us. Reverend Graham has served as pastor of Faith Congregational Church in Hartford since November 2020, guiding the congregation with deep commitment to justice, compassion, and community engagement. Reverend Graham is a trailblazer as the first person of color ordained in the Rhode Island Conference of the United Church of Christ, where she served as a director-at-large delegate to the United Church of Christ Synod. Did I say that right? Synod. And was also honored by then Rhode Island Governor Gina Raimondo for her service to the state. In 2012, Reverend Graham received her Master of Divinity from Andover Newton Theological School and received the North American Bible Study Award for Christian Education. She is a trained alternative to violence facilitator, life coach, and racial justice facilitator. Pastor Graham is married to her college sweetheart for 49 years, first gentleman Melvin Graham. She finds God's liberating, unifying truth life-saving. Reverend Graham is the author of the book From Mess to Message. Her online prayer ministry invites us to join her to Park and Pray at 1:11 p.m. at parkandpray@111.com. Please welcome Reverend Cleo Graham.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you so much. Thank you. I bring you greetings from the historic and sacred Faith Congregational Church. What a joy it is to be here. I happened to be looking on the screen and I saw the word peace, which has been resonating for me since I was invited here. And so I would ask you, I would offer you, peace be with you. Please turn to your neighbor and say, peace be with you. Peace be with you. I remember Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King as a peaceful protester. So amazing. I'm so inspired by coming and seeing that name there on the screen. One thing that I want to thank is all who have organized this event. This is such a wonderful turnout, and so I just thank you so much. Let us now go to God in prayer. Loving God, we come before you with hearts full of gratitude and hope, honoring the life and legacy of your servant, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. Dr. King's courage, integrity, and unwavering faith continues to inspire us. As we gather on this sacred occasion, we seek your presence among us and your wisdom as we reflect on the profound theme that Dr. King exemplified. He had the audacity to take risk. He practiced mutuality while building trusting relationships even among his adversaries. He had faith, hope, love, and joy, which strengthened him to run the race that was set before him. Almighty God, grant us the audacity and the mutuality to believe in a world where every person has enough food, clothing, shelter, opportunities to live as citizens of one nation under God, just as Dr. King practiced peaceful reconciliation. Help us to embrace justice and peace with a common thread of righteousness and freedom that inspires and unites us. Help us, O God, to embrace the audacity, to dream big, to act boldly, to challenge the injustices that still linger in our nation. Remind us that we are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, bound together by a single garment of destiny. May we see one another not merely as skin, but as kinfolk. Help us to recognize that what affects one profoundly impacts us all. And may we remember that true justice and peace can only be achieved through love, mercy, understanding, and cooperation. Hold our hands so that we may walk in the footsteps of Dr. King. Guide our steps while we run this race, and inspire us with the audacity to live out Reverend Dr. King's vision of a beloved community, rooted in love, grounded in grace, growing in trust, filled with faith and compassion. Bless this gathering and empower us to carry forward the torch of hope, unity, divine purpose. These and all things we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Graham, for those powerful words. And now for our first choir performance, the Conard Solo Choir will sing Hear My Prayer by Moses Hogan and Lift Every Voice and Sing, which is considered the Black national anthem. The song was originally a poem by NAACP leader James Weldon Johnson, set to music by his brother John Roseman Johnson in 1899. You're invited to sing along. The words are in your program.
your program, please join us.
Wow. Wow. Speechless. West Hartford is truly blessed to have such fantastic talent. Thank you for that excellent performance. Thank you, Sam Urich, for your leadership in directing the choir. That's amazing. Is it tonight? Okay. And from Washington, D.C., we are honored to have Senator Richard Blumenthal here to share his thoughts and insight. Please warmly welcome our Senator Blumenthal.
Thank you all. Thank you all. I would gladly yield my time to another number from the choir. That was beautiful. Thank you so much to all of you, as well as the King Philip Singers, and I know the Hall Jazz Combo will be with us shortly. Thank you to Lisa for your leadership, and to Mayor Cantor, as always, and your great state delegation. You have one of the best in the whole state, and to all the public officials, all of you who are here today, thank you. Thank you for your presence, which sends a message, a very profound signal about your commitment to this day, and not just the life and legacy of Martin Luther King, but to the fight that he represented. And Pastor Graham, I'm here to be audacious. I'm here for audacity. On the program, I'm supposed to offer reflections, but I'm here to make trouble. Good trouble. Good trouble. Good trouble is what we need now, because we are in the fight of our lives, the fight for our democracy, the fight that we all see day to day, that demands all of us, whatever our background or race or religion, we are in it together. And good trouble is what John Lewis called on us to do in our daily lives, but also in our public lives. And I can pledge to you that I'm going to continue that fight that Martin Luther King embodied with his physical presence in the places where he went for affordable housing and health care and a decent living. He died in Memphis advocating for, remember who? The garbage collectors, the sanitation workers in Memphis. He was there in that fight at his death. And today, just to be really blunt, I often wonder what Martin Luther King would say about what's happening in Minneapolis, about the brutality of our own government against peaceful protests. I think back to the Edmund Pettus Bridge and the civil rights marchers crossing that bridge to be met with the same brutality from government agents then, inspiring the nation, as I hope what is happening now in this nation will inspire all of us. And I know many who are here feel a sense of despair and even depression. Well, we don't have the luxury of despair or detachment. We have to muster the same kind of courage that Martin Luther King did and never abandon or surrender this fight for justice. The moral arc of the universe, as he said, bends toward justice. But what he didn't say was, it takes a few benders to do it. It takes some people out there to bend that arc of justice. That's our work today as never before. Martin Luther King Day, often said to be a day off. You all know it's a day on. And that's why you're here today. That's why we celebrate Martin Luther King's legacy and life. And that's why we're honoring some great people today. Doctors Devon, Booker, and Elena. I have certificates of special recognition from the Senate of the United States for you. You don't have to come up now. I'll bring them to you. And for the two wonderful students who you're going to hear from shortly, Rowan Thompson and Nibel Bona, I have certificates of recognition for you as well. Thank you for your great work, really great work in honoring us today. And thank you to West Hartford for, again, coming out in force, standing room only, making your presence known for Martin Luther King's ideals and purposes. We will not give up this fight. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Senator Blumenthal. Each year, one student from our 2 high schools is selected to deliver the student perspective speech on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Students are nominated by their teachers based on classroom observations, student work products, and a passion for history and/or social justice. The 2 students chosen this year are Rowan Thompson of Conard High School and Nebol Bona of Hall High School. Oh, you want to shout out your friends? Go ahead. First, let's hear from Rowan Thompson of Conard High School.
Audacity is defined as a willingness to take bold risks. For Black people throughout history, being audacious was simply second nature. When the slave ships left Africa and began the grueling journey to the Americas, Black people took their fates back from the Europeans who only saw their value in the work they could provide, by jumping off, choosing to have their final acts be one that would forever render them free from the bondage that the world so desperately wanted to force them into. Years after, with chattel slavery running rampant throughout the states, Black people again took the initiative to escape the situations imposed upon them through organized acts of resistance. Whether it was feigning illness to slow down production for the day, or deciding to flee from a plantation in the dead of night with nothing but the clothes on their backs and a mind set on freedom, they never allowed themselves to sit idly by in the oppression they were facing. In a country like America, where the color of your skin dictated your place in the social hierarchy, just existing as a Black person was a bold risk. But it was this risk that ignited a shared attitude of courage and determination among Black people to rise up and fight for change. Dr. King embodies this attitude as a person that dedicated his life to advocating for the advancement of Black people in America. King understood from a young age the effects of racism when his childhood friend told him that they could no longer play together because he was Black. In a child's mind, it is difficult to grasp what race means, and even harder to understand how something they cannot control could result in consequences they did nothing to deserve. However, this moment inspired King's dream that we will one day live in a society where the color of someone's skin is simply that, and not an indication of the content of their character. He spent his life working towards achieving equality among people of all races and backgrounds, despite being met with resistance at every step. The hate and oppression he faced never turned him away from doing what was necessary to further his cause. Rather, it inspired him to work that much harder. He chose to combat hate with love in a time where violence against Black people was normalized. His audacity to dream of a better future for everyone inspired his actions and empowered millions to challenge the system of oppression operating in America. However, framing his actions in this way makes it seem as though the fight has ceased and we have achieved freedom for all, with equality among everyone of all races and backgrounds. But the truth is, while injustice remains in the world, regardless of who it is directed toward, it negatively impacts all of us, and we all have the duty to stand up and oppose it. I would like to revisit King's childhood experience of racism because it reminds me of a story that my mother once told me. One day, when my older brother was about 3 or 4 years old, she had taken him to the park to enjoy the outdoors and relieve some energy. He had been running around, playing with a group of boys, when one of them, a mixed child a couple of years older than my brother, suddenly told him that he couldn't play with them anymore because he was too dark. My mother, who had been sitting on a bench near them and overheard the remark, was appalled for a number of reasons, but most of all because her son's first experience of racism had been at the hands of another Black child, one of his own peers. Even though it's been nearly 20 years since this incident, my mother says she can still remember exactly what the child looked like because his moment is permanently seared into her mind and her soul. When I first heard this story, I had my own reactions of shock and outrage because I could not believe that a child, much less a child of color, could say such a horrible thing to another child simply because his skin was darker. The most shocking thing about this story, however, is the fact that it is not exclusive to my brother. Black children everywhere have either experienced this firsthand or can name multiple people they know that have their own stories. As children of color, we cannot live in the same state of ignorance as our white peers, because it is dangerous for us to not be informed of how the world will treat us based on the color of our skin. Every year before school begins, my mother and I sit down to have a conversation where she reminds me that although I may be one of very few black students in my class, I have as much right to be there as anyone else, and I am allowed to take up space. On a similar note, when I got my license, we had a conversation about what to do should I ever get pulled over by the police to ensure that I make it back home safely. I can guarantee you that every black person has had similar conversations, sharing the same overall sentiments. We can praise the progress that's been made thus far, and we should acknowledge and honor all of the people and work that have brought us to this point, but we must understand that there is still much to be done. Now, more than ever, we all must have the audacity to believe in a future based in freedom, equality, and love for one another. In this day and age, it is impossible to ignore the injustices around the world when they are being so widely spread across every platform. Pretending not to see what is happening around us is an unforgivable offense. The least we can do is bear witness, but it is up to us to make sure that these events are not swept under the rug and forgotten. Audacity is the willingness to take bold risks, but actually taking the risk is the most important part. We all must have the audacity to believe in a better future, to dream of something more than we currently have, but it is imperative that we act on these beliefs and transform them into our reality. It is thanks not only to Dr. King's audacity, but his risk-taking that I am able to stand here today sharing my own hopes for a future where my right to control my body isn't debated by old white men sitting in D.C., where the president's first concern is bettering the lives of the American people and not hoarding power for himself, where people can protest without fear of being tear gassed or gunned down. To the audience, I now ask, what do you have the audacity to believe, and what risks will you take to make your dreams become reality? I would like to end with the words of Dr. King himself, in the hopes that they will inspire and empower you the way they have done for me. When our days become dreary, with low hovering clouds of despair, and when our nights become darker than 1,000 midnights, let us remember that there is a creative force in this universe, working to pull down the gigantic mountains of evil, a power that is able to make a way out of no way and transform dark yesterdays into bright tomorrows. Let us realize the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. Thank you.
That was great, Rowan. Rowan Thompson, 17-year-old, Conard High School. Now let's hear from Nebo Bona of Hall High School.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. When many hear this name, it's associated with the historical context, It's associated with historical context, but I think it's very important to mention that Dr. King's life work is very relevant to us today, especially during the current political climate of our country. I think that for how often Dr. King is talked about and for how often he is learned about, not enough is said about his drive other than he was very hardworking. Anyone who has ever been granted the privilege to learn about uncensored history knows about the extreme racism in the South during the 1950s and 60s. It was a very meticulous execution of oppression through federally approved laws and undeniably one of the heaviest social and political conflicts this country has seen. Though he is obviously not the only person who was affected by the cruel and aggressive racism of the South at the time, he became one of the few people whose public advocacy made it to the forefront of the civil rights movement. Many applaud his bravery, but not nearly enough credit is given to his audacity. In his Nobel Peace Prize acceptance speech, Dr. King mentioned his own audacity, but not in the usual connotation that this word holds. Though audacity usually refers to more impudent behavior, the common theme between its different connotations is being bold and having the willingness to take risks. And I think if I had to describe Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. as one word, it would be audacious, because in a time where his rights were challenged, he dared to speak out. In a time of raging violence, he had the courage to advocate against it. In a time where he could be and was jailed for these actions, he was consistent and persistent about influencing people's beliefs through his famous letter from a Birmingham jail in Alabama. And when all of this work eventually granted him a Nobel Peace Prize in 1964, he told the world about his audacity to believe that people everywhere can have 3 meals a day for their bodies, education and culture for their minds, and dignity, equality, and freedom for their spirits. It doesn't seem like an audacious thing to be in support of such basic human rights, but during MLK's time, the only humans who were seen as deserving of these rights were people who were lighter than a paper bag. It's been about 60 years, give or take, since then, yet we've only been celebrating Dr. King's legacy here in West Hartford for 30. Though as a town we waited a long time to celebrate him in this way, this town is also a place that grants its students a proper and honest historical education. Anyone who attends a West Hartford public school is more than fortunate to be able to receive the education and culture for their minds that Dr. King pushed for. And for myself, Dr. King himself has always been a historical figure that resonated with me. I remember vividly learning about him in the 1st grade because he taught me the word perseverance, and I've carried that with me since. He inspired me to persevere through any difficulties that I'd be met with in this world, and that's a lesson that can be applied to everyone, including all of you before me today. If you take a look at the world around us, at the state of our nation outside of Connecticut borders, there are signs everywhere that indicate the regression of our political and societal advancements. It undermines tens of hundreds of years of worth of hard work and dedication from those who had the audacity to fight for their present and for our future. And during these fearful times, during these divisive times, the teachings of Dr. King become even more important to keep in mind. Though it means something different to everyone, we should all have the audacity to forfeit overlooking the audacity of those who came before us. It is people like them that have challenged and will continue to challenge the oppressive systems in our society to better the world for ourselves and for generations to come. So let that person be you. Be the person who speaks out against the struggles of others. Be that person who takes advantage of their educational opportunities. Be that person who wakes up in the morning with hopes of doing something kind for someone. Be that person so you don't have to rely on others to be that for you. Be that person so you don't have to rely on others to be that for us. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm 16.
That was great. Thank you, Nebo. Nebo, 16-year-old Hall High School student. We have a 17 and a 16-year-old asking us to be our better angels. All right. Thank you, Ryan and Nebo. Thank you so much for your inspiring words and for sharing your perspectives and how we can make our community a better place for all. Ryan and Nebo's names will be added to the Martin Luther King plaque in the town hall lobby. It contains the names of all the students who have delivered a speech on this holiday since 1997. In 2025, in honor of the late Earl Exum, the MLK Committee introduced the Earl Exum Servant Leader Award to recognize individuals who serve others, foster a supportive environment, and empower people to grow, while demonstrating exceptional leadership qualities that encourage collaboration and stewardship. At the 2025 MLK celebration, Mark Walker was selected as the first recipient. Here to recognize this year's recipient is Adrian Billings-Smith, founder of Concerned Parents of Color of West Hartford and the town's manager of employee development and community engagement.
Good morning. We have a proclamation this morning that the mayor will read for Dr. Booker and Elena Vaughn.
Adrian and I have to adjust our mics appropriately. Okay. Whereas Doctors Booker and Elena Devon embody the spirit of service, humility, collaboration, community and community uplift that defines the Earl Exum Servant Leader Award. Whereas Doctors Booker T. and Elena Devon have exemplified servant leadership through decades of dedicated service to the town of West Hartford, strengthening cultural awareness, civic engagement, and community unity as early members and former presidents of the West Hartford African American Social and Cultural Organization, WASCO. And whereas their commitment to collaboration and community stewardship is reflected in their role on the founding committee of West Hartford's annual Martin Luther King Jr. celebration, a tradition that has inspired reflection, dialogue, and action since 1997. Whereas as champion of educational opportunity, the Devons established the Doctors Booker T. and Elena L. Devon Scholarship through the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving, have helped mobilize philanthropic resources to address the needs of the Black community, supporting students pursuing careers in STEM, nursing, and other health professions, and fostering pathways for young people to reach their full potential. And whereas Dr. Booker T. Devon, President Emeritus of the Three Rivers Community College, has advanced access to higher education through his advocacy for community colleges and developmental education, and where it has furthered served West Hartford through his roles in the Town Plan and Zoning Commission and as chairperson of the Board of Directors of the West Hartford Public Library. And whereas Dr. Elena Devon, a former lieutenant in the Navy Nurse Corps and steadfast advocate for housing equity, has strengthened the community through her service on the board of the West Hartford Interfaith Housing Coalition and her unwavering commitment to serving others. And whereas together, the Devons have enriched public understanding of African American history through educational presentation, including the forthcoming America 250 program, Bristow, A Life Remembered, at the Noah Webster House and West Hartford Historical Society, and helped bring long overdue recognition to Lemuel Haynes, resulting in the 2023 dedication of a permanent monument in West Hartford Center honoring this significant figure in American and local history. And whereas their generosity extends to institutions such as the Connecticut Museum of Culture and History and Rotary International, which honored them with the Paul Harris Fellow +4 pin for their contributions to humanitarian and educational initiatives. And now, therefore, be it proclaimed, on behalf of the Town Council and the residents of West Hartford, I, Mayor Sherry G. Cantor, do hereby recognize Dr. Booker T. and Elena Devon for their extraordinary record of service, leadership, and community stewardship. On the 19th day of January, the town of West Hartford is honored to present the Earl Exum Servant Award, celebrating the enduring legacy of compassion, collaboration, and service to others. Please come up.
Oh, sorry. I'm going to introduce him. You get that? All right. Good morning, everyone. You may be seated, and you'll stand back up again. Thank you, Mayor Cantor. Today, I do have the honor of announcing, as Mayor Cantor did, announcing again, our 2026 Earl Exum Servant Leader Award recipients. Before I do that, I want to say something. This weekend, I attended a funeral of who I consider to be my second grandmother. And during the sermon, the pastor spoke about something that he had heard, and he called it your dash. That's from the day you are born until the day you die. And long story short is, your dash is how you choose to live. Your dash is how you choose to treat people. Your dash is how you contribute to your community. And I'm so happy that this couple, two amazing individuals, are still in their dash period. They have shown that through all the trials and tribulations of life, you can always contribute and uplift your community. The Devons have lived a life of service to others and have fought for Black people in our community and beyond. We wouldn't be celebrating our 30th year of this event but for them. We wouldn't have brilliant, kind, and effective leaders like Earl and Tammy Exum if we didn't have them. We don't have Bristol Middle School without them. They are our living legacy. Their dash has not been wasted, and they still have more to give. And days like today, when most of us are trying to figure out how to navigate the whiplash of the 24-hour news cycle, the Devons continue to fight for our community, our country, and our humanity. Days like today, when we gather and sing, lift every voice and sing, and we shall overcome, I want you to think about the very people who have watched this nation fail them on their worst days, but gave them the resilience to overcome and succeed on their best. We all have a duty to one another. We all have a social contract between each other. Dr. King knew that, and that's why he fought to bring Black and white, poor and privileged together, because we are responsible for protecting each other. Simple statements like love thy neighbor aren't slogans, but actions to live by. We are all seeking out leaders to tell us what to do in times of hopelessness. And we don't have a Dr. King at the moment, but we have each other. And we all have to step up and find ways to make the world better for our children and neighbors. The Devons have shown this time and time again. Step up and advocate. Do right by each other, and the community will thrive, because service led with love can never be defeated. Congratulations, Booker and Elena.
Thank you. And now we have the pleasure of hearing a musical performance by the King Philip Middle School Singers, led by Brian Pia, Director of Choirs. They will perform Beautiful City, written by Stephen Schwartz and arranged by Mac Huff. Enjoy. Thank you. Outstanding. We will hear from them again at the end of the program when they join the Conard Solo Choir for the final two songs. Now, on to our keynote speaker, Portia Wise Bachman, Vice President of the West Hartford African American Social and Cultural Organization, will introduce our keynote speaker.
Thank you very much, and good morning, West Hartford friends and family and beautiful school students. My name is Portia Wise Bachman. I'm Vice President of WASCO, which is the West Hartford African American Social and Cultural Organization. And it is my pleasure and honor to introduce today's speaker, Dr. Fiona Fernal. Dr. Fernal is Associate Director of the Africana Studies Institute, ASI, Associate Professor of History and Africana Studies at the University of Connecticut, and the Director of Engaged Public, Oral, and Community Histories, EPOC, at UConn. EPOC is a public-facing initiative that integrates research, teaching, and scholarship into broader public policy interventions and capacity building for community organizations. She has developed a modular exhibition framework for libraries, universities, community organizations, nonprofits, and municipalities in order to leverage audiovisual storytelling and oral histories to communicate our shared values, to promote civic engagement, and to educate the public about pressing historical and contemporary issues. In addition to collecting almost 1,200 new oral histories through a statewide license to an oral history platform, these projects have examined apartheid's legacies, child labor and human rights, housing as a civil and human right, Hartford's emergence as a Caribbean and African American city, and the history of Black civic organizing. Her teaching and research focus on African, Caribbean, and African diasporal histories. She's currently working on a book and digital humanities project entitled Hartford Bound that integrates oral histories, archival research, and geographic information system methodologies to offer new visual and spatial histories of race, ethnic belonging, migration, and community succession in Hartford, Connecticut. So please join me in a round of applause for today's speaker, Dr. Fiona Fernal.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Mayor Cantor, Renee McHugh and Adrian Billings-Smith for the kind invitation to keynote this event on its 30th anniversary. I could not be more honored to share space and be in community with this multi-generational audience as we pause to celebrate and reflect on the life and legacy of Dr. King. Thank you to Portia Bachman for that generous introduction. The short version of that bio is that I'm a professor, historian, and curator. Oral history is the connective thread in all of these roles that I play. I am a storyteller. I interview people for a living. I was born to listen to people's stories because I was born as an eavesdropper. When I was a kid, I was the worst kind of eavesdropper. My grandmother and my mother had to shush me all the time, away from all of the adult conversations. We were children to be seen and not heard. I'm sure many of you have heard that from your elders. And if we wanted to find out anything, my sisters and I always had to go and listen. And so now I have a job as a historian where I get to be a professional eavesdropper. And where, this time, however, I get to ask permission of people from all walks of life to share their life histories. I help them document, preserve, and sometimes curate their life histories, including public exhibitions and podcasts, panel discussions, and other public programming in Hartford, Windsor, and Bloomfield. And I deliberately did not say West Hartford, but I think after this keynote, I will always be able to add West Hartford in that list of activities. In this role, I have had the privilege of talking to a lot of people in their 80s, in their 90s, and even in their hundreds. If Dr. King were alive today for me to interview him, he would be 96 years old. 96. And so that's the feeling I'd like to provoke in you, to think about what it meant that what he lost when he was killed, that he did not get to raise his children. He did not get to see them grow up and graduate from high school. He did not get to be a grandfather or a great-grandfather. That was what he lost personally. I am also struck by what we as a nation and a community lost: a leader, a visionary, a great human being who, a great human being who, no matter how many times the situation in the country encouraged despondency and depression, no matter how many times he had real reason to doubt whether we would ever overcome, always remind us that if we focus on his message of audacity, of hope, if we focus on his message of dignity and mutuality, if we turn to each other, if we help each other, if we continue to be in community with each other, no matter what is going on at the national level, that we truly can overcome. Now, I'd like us to revisit Dr. King's letters. I know that many speakers before me have mentioned this over the years. Although his life was cut short, he left a treasure trove of letters and speeches, many of which are publicly available and many of which you have had heard shorthand, such as his I Have a Dream speech and his letter from a Birmingham jail when he was already a mature leader. But he also left behind letters to his mother and father when he was just a teenager, and so I'd like to spend a minute going down this memory lane with you, because Dr. King talked about the mundane in those letters, right? He talked about the everyday. He talked about how he worked in the kitchen, and because he was in the kitchen, he had access to more food and drink than anybody else. He talks about leading Sunday services. He talks about attending the local church in Simsbury. He reminds his father that he was behaving himself and that he wasn't going to do anything, right, that his father wouldn't expect of him to do. He also asked his mother to send fried chicken and rolls because the food on the tobacco farm could hardly have been delicious compared to his mother's cooking. And knowing Dr. King, he must have whispered in somebody's ear, because in another letter, he told his mother, the food has gotten a little bit better at the tobacco farm. Now, in going down this memory lane, the 15-year-old Dr. King, as mentioned by some of the other speakers, marvels at being able to eat in restaurants, attend church, ride public transportation, and not having to think about segregation. But oral histories with other tobacco workers show that Connecticut was no racial haven in 1944, including Simsbury at the time that Dr. Martin Luther King was there, with its 99% white population and total number of 14 black people living there. Folks like Arthur Johnson, also another tobacco worker who was here with Dr. King and one of the many Morehouse students who worked in Simsbury, When he was working, when he arrived, he was bemoaning the food and the housing conditions and the long days that young people had to work. And so he got to work working with the tobacco workers, or actually annoying the tobacco workers, the tobacco growers, to ask them if they could improve all of those conditions. He was not invited back. And so I bring this up to say King and these young men were on their way to college. We know Morehouse, but there's also Howard and Tuskegee and Morris Brown and Talladega and Hampton. So there are many other black students who came from these colleges to work in tobacco, and not just from Morehouse. But these are young students, just like you, on the way to college, not seeking long-term employment, not seeking fair wages, not seeking long-term housing, and not seeking education. And so it was very easy for people in Simsbury to be kind and open and welcoming to people who were here temporarily, but not to be so kind and open and welcoming to the permanent population that was seeking housing, long-term employment, and housing. It was easy to entertain these young men. They went on the radio, they traveled to Hartford, they traveled to other churches. They sang beautifully, like all of you here, and so we can use that memory to imagine what it would have been like for those audiences to hear those beautiful voices, just like we have heard your beautiful voices here today. Black residents who were seeking exactly these things, employment, housing, education, faced an uphill battle, and not all of their experiences were subtle. Mr. Colin Bennett, for example, who, when he came to the United States, sounded like an Englishman, as did many West Indians on the phone, and was welcomed by landlords when he was seeking a place, found himself not so welcome when they realized he was Black. This experience would lead to his lifelong dedication to help Black people find places when they moved here, wherever they moved from, whether they were moving from down south or they were moving from the Caribbean, and eventually to move into the position of being homeowners. And so many people, including folks here in West Hartford, credit Mr. Bennett with helping them to become homeowners and buying their first home. Mr. Ken Bennett, a different Bennett, unrelated, also recounts a story of what it was like to come to the US around the same time that Dr. King was working in tobacco in the 1940s, and having similar experiences of being welcomed into the tobacco industry as long as you were not advocating for better positions, as long as you were not advocating for better wages and better working conditions. And he also, like many of the workers who moved to Hartford after finishing tobacco, recounts a story of what it was like to buy his first home. After having secured properties in Hartford, he then branched out and moved on to Bloomfield. And Mr. Bennett is currently 104. I think if his family didn't restrain him, he'd probably still try to be gardening and be out in his yard. And when he was looking for that home, this time in Bloomfield, he was looking for a magnificent yard. In fact, he got more yard than he got house. And he had to spend a lot of time preparing the yard for the magnificent garden. He wanted to plant everything that reminded him of home. And he met his neighbor who came out there every time and kept him company, kept him in conversation, and he thought that Bloomfield was a most welcoming place if this is what his neighbor was going to be like. And then when it was time to finally move in, that neighbor decided to not speak to him because Mr. Bennett was not the yard boy, but the homeowner. And so I say all of this to say the 15-year-old Dr. King had wonderful experiences of integration here. The older Dr. King would return here to fight for education in Hartford, to fight for housing in Hartford, to fight for full employment in Hartford and in the rest of Connecticut, because all of these issues that were taking place in the state were being reflected in what was going on nationally. Now, many other stories abound in the oral histories. Many, many stories of resistance, of resilience, of dignity, of Black people experiencing joy, finding love in the tobacco fields. So Mr. Bennett was one of those who met his wife, who was here from North Carolina, also working in tobacco, and they fell in love and got married and settled in Hartford and then in Bloomfield. Finding friendship, building community, figuring out what Hartford was about. I heard so many stories of Jewish neighbors who, when they found out that West Indians and other African Americans were having a really difficult time, either securing a loan outright or securing the full loan, either holding the mortgages for them or holding the second mortgage for them that could get them to the full amount. And we need to tell these stories, right? We need to tell these stories of people who stepped up and filled in the gaps, because this is what we are going to have to do to get through this moment that we are in. A lot of us are going to have to step up and fill in the gaps. None of these people walked across a stage, tried to take a medal, or even wanted to talk about their stories, right? This was just them being neighbors. This was just them reaching out and filling a need where they saw a need. This was them leveraging their resources because they could, and they did not need to be awarded for it. Now, for Dr. King and these young men of the South, their particular experiences and impressions of hospitality and racial integration show what was possible, that there were allies, that there were people who did not share and did not practice the everyday racism that was so virulent in the South. And so these are just some of the glimpses that we get to see of an emerging spiritual leader when we revisit these letters. And also, it's important to revisit these letters because Dr. King himself identified 1944 as when he felt that call to service when he was in Connecticut. And so these glimpses are available 96 years later because they were documented. I invite you now, I have an ask, and some of you have dropped them out of your program, but don't worry, I have plenty more for you. But I inserted this into your programs. This is for you to take home with you. I invite you to do what Dr. King did when he was 14 and 15, which is to make yourself a part of history. Be audacious. Consider writing a letter or letters to document the moment you are in now, so that your views and your opinions and your experiences can be a part of the historical account 20 years from now, 50 years from now, a century from now. You never know. Somebody might be giving a keynote 100 years from now and reading your letter as part of their keynote. I have spent the last 3 years building a statewide network that could provide, leverage AI for good, to use a platform that is free and available to every single person in the state, so that you do not have to worry about how to record an oral history, how to transcribe an oral history. And so that's what the QR code and the little paper that I've inserted into your program will take you to. It will take you to that platform. I have begun a starter project for you there. When you click on the QR code, you will see 3 questions, and it says, what are the pressing social justice issues of your generation that you feel connected to? What would you want your future self to know at this moment? What action do you resolve to take now or in the future to be a part of the change that you want to see? And if you don't want to answer my questions, You can still use the recording to say anything you want. Use it as an audio letter to yourself, but by all means, use it. Now, Dr. King would return for another stint in tobacco in 1947. He would return again to discuss integration in 1959 at the invitation of the University of Hartford. And he would return again in 1962 at something the local community at the time called the Festival of Faith and Freedom. We need another Festival of Faith and Freedom. This was coordinated by local civil rights leader, the Reverend Battles of Mount Olive Baptist Church. This is where Mahalia Jackson performed. And Dr. King was here because the Greater Hartford community had gone to Georgia in solidarity, and Mahalia Jackson was here to raise funds so that they could help rebuild the many, many, many churches that had been bombed at that time in Georgia, but everywhere, right? Including in Alabama and Mississippi, black churches were bombed by white supremacists. Dr. King's views of Connecticut at this time in the 1960s were not those of a 15-year-old, but those of a mature leader who was leaning on the black community here in the Greater Hartford region in a mutual pledge to fight for the right to education, to employment, to decent and fair housing, which had really entered his mind as that connective thread. Like, in order for people to lead dignified lives, they need to live in decent, fair housing conditions. Now, to wrap up, 2 years after the Festival of Faith and Freedom, when he received the Nobel Prize in 1964, Dr. King asked why the prize was being awarded to a movement at the time which he described as beleaguered and committed to unrelenting struggle, to a movement which had not yet won the very peace and brotherhood which was the essence of the Nobel Prize. The day before his speech, just the day before, right, while he's on his way in a plane to Oslo, 40 churches had been firebombed in Mississippi, and dogs had been turned on protesters in Alabama. Dr. King then talked about vacillations and ambivalences, but he said he felt his hope renewed whenever he interacted and engaged with young people, because ultimately his dream was about the next generation. So as we stress test our legal and political institutions, to young people, Dr. King said, "Number one in your life's blueprint should be a deep belief in your own dignity, your own worth, and your own somebodyness." And so I offer this to the young people. Do not let anybody take your dignity and somebodyness away. Please participate with me in helping us to document this moment. Please use that QR code with the permission of your parents and teachers. To the adults here, please help us to put West Hartford on the map. Let this day and this keynote be the beginning of what I'm calling the MLK Legacy Project, where I invite all of you to use our wonderful state resources that have been provided by the University of Connecticut, by our State Historical Society, the Connecticut Museum of Culture and History, by my home university, the University of Connecticut. We have invested a lot of time, energy, and resources to be able to provide this free resources to every single person so that you do not have to worry about your voices being censored. You do not have to worry about where there might be a space for you to have your opinions documented. I have given you that space. Please use the QR code. And I hope at next year's celebration that we have 50 stories, 100 stories. In case you're interested in getting started, I made sure to place the getting started instructions right next to the food. So if anyone is an educator, if anyone is interested in joining me and joining West Hartford on this journey, please grab your Getting Started page. We have a full staff ready to help document your voices, to be audacious, and to take part in this mutual effort to make sure people know what we're thinking and what we're feeling, and that we're going to speak out about the atrocities that are taking place in this country. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Dr. Vernal, for your thought-provoking words. Perfectly tied everything we heard today. Definitely feeling inspired to be audacious and be heard. Before we close with our community song, the West Hartford African American Social and Cultural Organization, WASCO, invites you to their Black Business Expo on February 28th. I believe we have a short commercial.
My name is Alexis Safawadjman, and I am a proud member of West Hartford African American Social and Cultural Organization, better known as WASCO. I have the pleasure of inviting you and your family to join us for the 3rd annual Black Business Expo, held on Saturday, February 28th from 1 to 4 p.m. at the West Hartford Town Hall. This event gives you an opportunity to not only network with a diverse group of people from the greater Hartford region, but also an opportunity to check out the amazing businesses. These businesses span from food and beverage, financial services, health and wellness. I mean, you name the industry and they will be there. We also have DJ B Davis setting the vibe and spinning those jams all day long. So come out on Saturday, February 28th and join us from 1 to 4 p.m. at the West Hartford Town Hall for the 3rd annual Black Business Expo. We hope to see you there.
Also, before leaving today, we invite you to check out the beautiful artwork and essays on display in the hallway just outside these auditorium doors. Students read about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., studied his well-known speeches and his important contributions to our country, and then wrote essays and poems about his life and created artwork on how King's message relates to their own. Please stop by and take a look. The Conard Solar Choir and KP Singers will conclude our program with Make Them Hear You, written by Stephen Flaherty and Lynn Aherns, arranged by Jeff Funk, and a rousing rendition of We Shall Overcome. We invite you to sing along. Fire the choir's lead with each verse.
Make them hear you. Oh, just which are more than black or white. And I could not put down my sword when justice was my right. Make them hear you. Make them hear you. Go out and tell our story, let it echo far and wide. Make them hear you. Make them hear you. How justice was our battle and how justice was denied. Make them hear you. Make them hear you. And say to those who blame us for the way we chose to fight, that sometimes there are battles which are more than black or white. And I could not put down my sword when justice was my right. Make them hear you. Make them hear you. Go out and tell our story to your daughters and your sons. Make them hear you. Make them hear you. And tell them in our struggle we were not the only ones. Make them hear you. Make them hear you. Your sword can be a sermon or the power of the pen. Teach every child to raise his voice, and then my brothers then will justice be demanded by 10 million righteous men. Make them hear you. When they hear you, how we hear you
shall not, or we shall overcome.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I shall overcome someday. We shall stand together. We shall stand together. We shall stand together. We shall stand together someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday.
We shall all be free.
We shall all be free. We shall all be free. We shall all be free someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday.
What a fantastic performance, Mayor Cantor. You were correct. They are the stars. Once again, I'm inspired, full of joy, and full of hope, and I hope you are too. Please give a round of applause to the West Hartford Public School performers today and their music teachers, Phil Giampietro, Sam Urick, Brian Pia, and Andrew Mayo. And finally, thank you all for being here today, and to all those watching from home on West Hartford Community Interactive Channel. By being present, you are helping keeping Dr. King's dream alive. See you next year, Monday, January 18th, 2027. We will see you next year. Yes.